for example, about the entrepreneur media lawsuit, which went on for 2 years and was unbelievably devastating to me. And what I went through with that, I almost lost my entire business. I had to rename my brand. I had to hire someone full time just to change and remove the word entrepreneur. Like, I can't even tell you the amount of betrayal and loss and trauma and setbacks that you experience at my level. But most of the time, it happens in such a way that you actually can't publicly share it.
Oh my gosh. Hi,
How are
Kelly.
you?
How are you?
How fun. Look at us.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just want to start off, first of all, by I was so fortunate to find someone in this just whole online space who was so true and genuine to the promises that they made and what they
Oh,
taught, the community that they built. Because as you can imagine, since you started, there has been a plethora of people attempting to do what you do, and it's really muddied the waters. And I started with you. I was really, really fortunate, and I
oh,
found really great people who were led by your guidance. So I've been surrounded by amazing, incredible people and have never had to deal with these nightmare stories that people are going through. And I just like,
oh,
I feel like I'm in the presence of, just someone doing it right the entire way.
oh.
And it's crazy to see. And you continue to do better and better.
Thank
Just so thank you. Thank you for being here. It's a huge honor.
I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's been a very interesting time because we have so many alumni coming back to us that got tempted by the bright, shiny objects and the stories people were telling and all the new things and all of that. And they're like coming back home and they're like, I'm ready to come back home. Like, I need something real.
Yeah.
And they're all coming back. So it's really interesting, but we've just stayed true. We've continued to rise. We've continued to plug, to work, to stay in integrity. And I feel like it always pays off in the end.
Yeah, one of the things you've really truly conquered in so many ways is consistency. You've
Yeah.
stayed consistent about everything that you
Yeah.
do throughout my entire experience with you, which
Yeah.
spans from the beginning of 2019, which again for this industry and just the online space, it's a long time.
A
So
long time.
yeah, it's so long. I have so many questions, but did it begin with your dedication being in corporate, being a cheerleader? Like, is that where the
Yeah.
consistency began for you?
Yeah, I mean, so early on, right?
Yeah.
Because I had nothing. And, I spent 7 years cleaning my dance studio floors and the mirrors to pay for my lessons. And so that was where things really cracked open for me in my life, where I realized, like, you can have whatever you want, but you have to be willing to work for it. And good things take time. So I learned those lessons really early in life, and then, have just been able to continue to apply those lessons in new ways. You can have anything you want as long as you're willing to work for it. And good things take time. And I think when you apply those lessons to entrepreneurship, I think like when you're clear and you're strong in your own vision of where you're going and why. And like, I know for me, like I'm always working in like 5-year, 10-year increments into the future. So I'm not very easily movable, right? Like and I think that's something I want to give to so many entrepreneurs, because I think what happens is people are easily confused by marketing. And so they always feel like it's not happening fast enough. They're not doing it right. They're not big enough. They need to be keeping up with these latest, greatest things. And it's like the opposite is true. It's really like slow and steady wins the race, and it's being able to stay consistent over time.
I think it's really interesting for me because you say this, but even more important thing is you don't just say if you didn't have any words, you live this. You live
Yeah.
this through your business, you live this through the way that you lead your team, the way you lead your family, your
Yeah.
community. It's just so inspiring and so interesting because a lot of people are really, really good at marketing. They're really good at
Yeah.
pulling people into their ecosystem, but the delivery, the
Yeah.
follow through, they're just the retention, and you
Yeah.
have really found a way to master all of
Yeah.
that. And
Thank you.
it's not like a shift of, oh, let's make this happen. You guys
Yeah.
actually test things. You
Yeah.
put it into motion, make sure that it works and it works in practice before you even start to teach it to other people.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to me. I've seen so many people go through the motions. I've seen people go through the industry in and out and get spit out and all
Yeah.
like I mentioned earlier, horror stories, but you've stayed
Yeah.
true to the entire process. So the other thing I want to know is how do you maintain your integrity, but
Yeah.
also stay so strong? Because I know at
Yeah.
your level that you're going through a ton of
A
different
lot.
things that people
Yeah.
coming up just would not even imagine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that's the thing, right? I think that a lot of people, there's a lot of things that happen, especially at my level, where you can't talk about them publicly, right? So I recently started sharing, for example, about the entrepreneur media lawsuit, which went on for 2 years and was unbelievably devastating to me. And what I went through with that, I almost lost my entire business. I had to rename my brand. I had to hire someone full time just to change and remove the word entrepreneur. Like, I can't even tell you the amount of betrayal and loss and trauma and setbacks that you experience at my level. But most of the time, it happens in such a way that you actually can't publicly share it. So people don't know what you're going through and they don't know what goes on. And so, one, I think a lot of times when people suffer setbacks or hardships, they think like they're doing something wrong, or they think that it's only them, or whatever the case. And I always try to be very like vocal and honest with people and say, like, it's not you. You didn't do anything wrong. Like, when you're running a business, like, these are the things that happen. There's no guarantees. So I think that's, I think that's a piece of it. And I think, to your point earlier, integrity, right? Like, there are so many people in this game that they're only in the game for the marketing and making the sale, but they're not in the game for the transformation and the result of their customer. And to me, that just, it defeats the entire purpose. Like, this is my vocation. Like, this is the purpose of my life, is to use the gifts that were given to me by God to serve, impact, and help other people live a better life because of it. And I think that when that gets forgotten for any of us, we start making a lot of the wrong decisions. And usually it's because of either desperation or urgency, or, needing to feel that you're, successful faster, or whatever the case. But I think it's just understanding too, like, if we remove like the emotion or the ethics of it, from the standpoint of like building a sustainable business, if you don't maintain equal balance on customer acquisition and customer delivery, you'll never have a peaceful and profitable business. It will always be constant turn and burn. It will always be feast or famine, because you're constantly bringing all these new customers in, but you're losing them as fast as you're gaining them. And then you can never grow, right? And so I knew early on that perfecting the back end was just as important as perfecting the front end, and we're still not there. We have continuous improvement as one of our core values as a company, and our goal is every day to try and improve upon the way that we service the customers, the way that we deliver our program, and how we help people to get to a predictable outcome and result in the program. And it's a never-ending process. We're not perfect. But I think the fact that we've placed that so high on our list of priorities, it is why our brand has continued to elevate and grow and rise, even despite seeing so many people in the online market crash and burn and even close their businesses over the last couple of years.
I think the reason why I feel like the reason why I've seen you do it and do it so well too is your honesty in I fail. I fail
Hmm.
a lot, but
Yeah.
that's how I'm so successful is because
Hmm.
I've gone through all of the hardest
All
employees.
of it.
Your team members, right? I've gone through the methods
Yes.
that don't work, the strategies that just didn't
Yeah,
work, or even for yourself, coaches that didn't work, right?
for sure.
So knowing when a failure is something that you should take on as a lesson for your future endeavors or your future choices, but be able to continue to move forward. I literally have not seen
Yeah.
you stop ever.
Yeah.
And the way that you've built your team to support you and
Yeah.
your business, it's incredible. I
Oh,
can totally see, like one day your business being as recognizable as Coke just throughout the world, but in
yeah.
a really valuable way, in a way that is really trusting, right? Again, I keep going back to there are so many people
Yeah.
because the barrier of entry is so low.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm a coach,
Yeah.
I can do this. Like
Yeah.
you can claim so many things, but you can also hurt people in so many ways.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and so you guys sell more than just the numbers. You don't make just the
Yeah.
promises of you can start making six figures, seven figures,
Yeah.
eight figures. You help to retain and then deliver. But I think just the authenticity and sharing, hey, this
Yeah.
is what we've been through. This is
Yeah.
the processes that it took.
Hmm.
So for anyone who is shy at this point to say, I've been burned because I've been through
Yeah.
courses, I've been through coaches who just did not deliver, what would you say to them and what kind of tools should they utilize to be able to find the right choice for their next mentorship or their next course, whatever
Yeah.
right move?
Yeah, it's such a good question. Well, I would say, first of all, I think a lot of people got themselves in a situation where they bought things because they liked the words coming out of someone's mouth, but then they didn't look at the entirety of the person's life, how they made choices, how they valued relationships, like whatever the case, right? I just think that, like, for me, and that's why I talk so much about like the importance of family and my focus on Madison, and Billy and I's decision for him to be home full time to focus on Madison, and like what we're trying to build as a family and what my values are as a person, because it's not success at all costs. And there's a lot of people in my space and in my industry that it's all about like the private jet. It's all about what circle are you running in, what celebrities are you taking a picture with, all of those things. I have zero, like less than zero interest in any of that. And for some people, they want to work with someone that is teaching that or like makes them feel a certain way with that. And for other people, they're in it more for like a purpose driven way. And those people are going to find their way to me. Right. But I do think that for people that want to share more of their journey or want to share more about what they've experienced, I think it's really important right now. For us, we had a great first quarter of the year. I know a lot of people are really struggling right now. We're trying to help as many of them as we possibly can. We can't help everyone. But one of the big things that people have been coming to us and saying that have been joining our programs is they've been saying to my team, the reason why they chose us is that they trust me because I've been talking openly about what's going on in the market, the shifts and challenges that people are facing, the reality of the changes happening in online marketing, all of the things that everyone's feeling, but most people are saying, oh, it's just you have a bad mindset. And it's like, no, it's not just a bad mindset. Like, look, like if you actually understand the economics of what's happening, there's a reason why people are struggling. And you can also do something about it, but you have to understand how the rules of the game have changed in order to up level and change your strategy so that you can have a successful playbook in the economy that you're operating in. And I just feel like so many people have kind of like papered over it or tried to, not acknowledge it or haven't done the work themselves. I spent so much money, so much time. I took off of launching High Ticket for 6 months because we wanted to work on improving the back end of the business. We needed to test new strategies. Things were changing. Stuff wasn't working the same way anymore. I recorded a podcast a year and a half ago and I was like, listen, we cannot sell high ticket in the volume that we used to with the change in the market. We're now advising that you start building these internal buyers lists. So I've been sharing with the market every step of the way, like, these are the challenges and problems we have to solve to yield the same performance and the same growth that we were experiencing before. And so I think just listening to your gut and knowing when you're listening to someone and they're saying the words, right? But the behavior isn't backing it up or something isn't matching up, and just taking a breath and like taking a beat and just making sure that the people that you're aligning yourselves with have the stake to back up the sizzle. Like I say that all the time. Yeah, because there's a lot of sizzle out there that doesn't have any stake behind it, right?
Oh my gosh, Kelly. Okay, so okay, I don't know why I don't know if people use that quote a lot. I've never heard of it before, but that is a really great segue into something else that I've noticed. So again, the fact that you've been in this for many years, I am still just blown away by the fact that every time I attend a live session that you do, it's never the same, like
Never.
repetitive information.
No.
I every time you blow me away, and I've heard so much of it, So going into any webinar, any sessions, like trainings that people promote, you expect to hear the repetitive stuff. I know for a fact whenever I go to any of Kelly's stuff, whether it's paid or free, which a lot of your stuff is free.
Yeah.
It's really great information. It's so good. And you have the ability to see what's coming forward and what to expect, because again, goes back to you're constantly testing, you're constantly trying things and constantly failing to be able to find the winners. And you're doing that for us.
Yeah.
So whenever you invest into your programs, any of your programs, you know that the things that you're teaching are tested and tried and true, not just something, oh, I heard this through a grapevine. It might be a really great strategy. No, we know it's a great strategy because you tried it already. You are the originator of the live launch and just making that process so fun and so seamless. And now it's like, I'm still looking for someone who can present it in a really interesting way. I've yet to find that person. So if you're new to any live sessions or live trainings, like Kelly is the person to go to if you're an entrepreneur, if you're new to business, if you want to start your business, or even if you want to reach the 7 or 8 figures, you're established in business, but you want the real strategy and the tactics to get you there, like Kelly is the person to go to. The other thing that I've noticed, people talk about their private jets, their Louis Vuitton and all of that. What you highlight is your family and how happy you are with them, your community, how well they do, and then your team members. So instead of saying, oh, look at me and my new outfit and or my new place and all of that, you highlight the people around you. Like you lift them all up, and it's nothing new. It's not that you picked this up here recently and it was like, oh, I need to shift tactics. You've always done this. So I think that's another sneak peek to people who might be skeptical as to who to go to for guidance in their business. You can go to the people who flash all of those fancy things and you haven't seen the back end, or you can go to someone who really has established a highly developed team, a really great family life. They're able to talk about the real standards and procedures behind what's happening in their business. Kelly, did you always see that you were going to get to this size of growth in business? Or did you start thinking that it was going to be like boutique level? Like, did you always know it was going to be as big as?
I mean, it's a good question. I think like you go through so much, right? I've had really high highs and really low lows in business. And there's definitely been times where I've been like, I'm going to pack this up and I'm going to run a little boutique and I'm going to make my 500 grand a year and I'm going to be done. Right. So I've definitely had those moments. And then after I've had that like moment of like victimhood of feeling bad for myself, I've like snapped out of it and remembered who I am. And I think the thing is like, listen, we're all blessed with different gifts. We're all blessed with a different mentality and a different purpose and a different path for impact. For me, I was given the gift of teaching, of serving, of taking complex things and making them simple so that people can build businesses to provide for their families and have success. And so for me, like, it's kind of my responsibility to take that as far as I possibly can. And I'm very, very careful to not have a success at all costs mentality. Like, I'm very focused on my faith, my family, fitness, mental wellness, all of those things, because I want to be able to do this for the rest of my life. But yeah, I mean, I think knowing your priorities and values is so essential. And I think, like, a lot of people, when they start having challenges in business, they're just like, oh, I'm just going to play small because I don't want to deal with that. But the problem is the problem is going to follow you wherever you go until you learn it. Even if you decide you're going to play small to avoid it, it's going to find you. And so for me, like, when I keep running into a problem multiple times, I'm like, okay, there's something for me here. There's a reason why this keeps coming up. Like, there's a deeper lesson, there's a deeper meaning, and I need to learn what I need to know to get to where I want to go. And so I think it's just identifying when we're exercising avoidance behavior versus like taking the challenge head on and saying, like, what do I really need to learn here?
That is so good. So the things that you say fit every level in business. And so it reminds
Yeah.
me that it's always been the foundations
Yeah.
that you talk about.
Always.
There are always cores and foundations in life, in business, and that's what you focus on. And then
Mm-hmm.
you build on top of that, but you never stray away from the important
Yeah.
foundations in business. So if you were to say there were, let's say, three things, right? If there were
Mm-hmm.
three things that has gotten you to where you are today that anyone can implement, would you have three things that you can send people away with?
Yeah. I mean, I would say keeping it really simple, right? I talk about the three
You
C's: content, conversations, and consultations. You see me sitting here today. I'm doing 7 podcast interviews. Why am I doing that? Why have I done podcast interviews every week for years and years and years? Why? Because it's discoverability, it's adding value, it's being of service. There's someone that's going to listen to your show today that never heard my name before that's like, who is this Kelly girl? And they might be the next person that ends up being, someone that we help to build a 6 or 7 or 8-figure business, right? So content. So adding value every single day, making a difference, using your gifts to share and impact the world. Conversations, having actual real life exchange with prospects and leads and people in your community. And then consultations, having actual sales conversations to invite people to say yes.
Where do you see the online space going? Social media is definitely shifting. People's trust in social
Yeah.
media and content creators and people who are in this
Yeah.
space teaching is shifting. Where do
Yeah.
you see all of that going? What major change should we be looking out for if we want to maintain relevancy and visibility and to still master the three C's that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, obviously with buyer skepticism and just where people are, they're definitely listening into more in-depth content because they want more context to the information that you're sharing, and they want to see if there's kind of depth of expertise behind it. So long form content for sure. In terms of the organizations that are really going to thrive over the next couple of years, it's going to be the companies that really understand that it's a customer centric focus, right? A lot of companies are overusing and abusing AI and digitization, automation, and I've been talking about this for years and years, but it is very blatantly obvious now that people are changing who they're working with because of these things. They want to work with a real human. They want to have a relationship with their service provider. They want to be able to get on Zoom or on the phone with a real person and have an actual relationship with the people that they're buying from. And, I think, like, online, the education space, the service space, I think is going to continue to grow and grow. But I think the difference is that in the coming years, I think you're going to have to be better because consumers are going to wise up, and they already are wising up to the zero barrier to entry and the fact that they have to do more due diligence in the buying process in order to not be scammed or taken advantage of or whatever the case. And that's a great thing for people like us, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, that's where we shine. That's where it's like, cool, like, that's what we're here to do, is to serve people. So that's actually a really good thing.
I love that you're able to see that. One of the things that you made a shift towards And you've really honed in on this and made a lot of posts, and you talk really openly about this now that you didn't used to before,
Mhm.
is your religious beliefs and taking ownership of God and how faith has really driven you in business.
Mhm.
Can you walk me through why you decided to keep it out of business and what
Yeah.
made the change to bring it back into?
It's funny because someone tagged me in a post the other day and they're like, and Kelly Roach, I would love to know about your big pivot. And I'm like, it's not a pivot. And if you listen to any of my content, you would know. But yeah, I mean, it's, something that I did keep private for many years. I never talked about it. I did share even many years ago that I was a person of faith, but that I chose to keep my faith separate.
Hmm.
I saw so much deterioration in society. Obviously, I have a 10-year-old daughter now, and I saw what faith being removed from everyday consciousness has done to our society and to our world, number one. And then number two, I saw how many entrepreneurs that did not have faith as a part of their everyday life and as a part of their business were struggling so much. And I began to realize that I was doing a huge disservice by not using my podium to express the importance of building that relationship with your creator. And it's in whatever way
Hmm.
you see fit. I don't believe that there's one way to have a relationship with God. I don't subscribe to like, you need to do it this way or you need to do it that way. But what I do believe is we have a creator, we have God, and the degree to which we build our faith life is going to support us, and it's going to nourish us, and it's going to provide for us in a way that nothing in the human element can. And I just felt that I was contributing to the problem by not sharing what a big part of my success came because of my reliance on my faith and on my beliefs. And so I just decided it was time. I was like, it's just time. And I also decided that I was willing to deal with whatever consequences came with that. I mean, I think when I was new in business, I was scared to share about my faith because they were always like, you don't talk about religion, politics, what, blah, 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 right?
Right.
And so I was like being a good girl, and I was like, okay, I don't talk about any of those things. And I kept it completely out of the conversation. And I just got to the point where I was like, F it. Like, I've had so much success. I know I'm the real deal. My clients are winning. I have a track record. Like, I know I operate with integrity. And if
Mm.
people are going to like freak out and cancel me or not want to be like in my world anymore because I start talking about God, like, I'm at the point in my career where like I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I
it's
mean?
totally okay. But it
Yeah.
also brings back to the things that you stand really strongly on, and it's
Yeah.
keeping things simple, the
Yep.
foundations. You're an inspiration to not
Thank
just
you.
entrepreneurs, but to women and to children, to moms, like you just, and men. Like you're one of the people who does that really, really, really well because a lot of other coaches will specialize in helping women or men or moms. And you
Yeah.
do a really good job of helping everyone. You run a lot of businesses, you have your amazing family, and you support so many people. I know that I ask this and I wonder this often. So I imagine there are other people wondering as well. How do you maintain just that level of energy, but continue to show up?
Well, one, I am fanatical about my sleep, like fanatical. I get 8 to 10 hours of sleep every single night. So that's number one. Number two, exercise, right? And especially even like this year, I really made a commitment to take my health to the next level. So I've been super focused on
You have a
resistance
trainer,
training,
right?
and yeah, I'm working with a trainer, and I'm really like, I'm working on the supplements, and I'm working on my nutrition, and I'm working on like all elements of, just getting my body to function optimally. So, that's a big piece of it. Taking time for prayer, taking time for family, taking time for rest. And a lot of that obviously comes over time with building a winning team because I have so much freedom and so much support. And that allows me to be able to balance those things, right?
Yeah. I absolutely love
Yeah.
it. My last question that I'll leave you with, do you have a major goal? Do you have a goal that you set for each year or maybe like a specific business milestone to achieve? Is there a huge, what they say, like the big, hairy, audacious goal? Do you have
Yeah.
one of those?
I have many. I have
Oh,
many. So one is to fill a stadium. I want to speak and fill a
your
stadium. So
own
that is
event?
a yes. That is a goal. So that will probably take me 10 to 15 years. So that I am working on, and to take my portfolio of companies to 100 million in annual revenue.
Oh my gosh.
So, I have so many goals, but I'm not in a rush, and I think that's the biggest thing is I feel relaxed and energized by them every day because I'm giving myself ample runway.
Yeah.
I'm not chaotically just pushing so hard that it's just like exhaustion.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really important thing that I've learned over time.
I think the fact that you said 10 to 15 years in itself is huge because for me, I didn't see it being that far away. I was like, okay, we can start filling stadiums now with your stuff. But what's the best way to find you today?
Well, I would say, but listen to the podcast. I think the podcast is like just the best home. It's the best place to come learn for free. It's a great starting point. And then if you want to get in touch with me personally, hit me on Instagram, Kelly Roach Official, send me a DM, be like, hey, heard you on the show. And, I'd love to connect with you and send you some amazing resources to grow your business. But the Kelly Roach Show is a great place to start.
Yeah, and that just brings us full circle because that was where you said, I knew that if I just am consistent every
Yeah.
single week over years, I will make it to the
Yeah.
top. And you
Yeah.
consistently do better and better in marketing and in business. And I'm so honored again to have you. Thank you so much, Kelly. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I look forward to seeing your continued growth and just the way that you impact this world.
Thank you so much.